Hey everyone and welcome back. So this is going to be our contour and highlight how-to video. This is going to be basically me going through contour and highlight, but I'm not going to go through like how you should highlight and contour for your face shape. I've mentioned this in my blush and bronzer video. I'm going to do a separate video on how to work with your face shape in whatever way you choose to do so. But for this video, I'm just going to go through how to contour, like what kind of products to use, brushes to use. I've got them all over there. And generally the techniques I tend to use for the face. But if you want to know, like, say, how to contour if you've got more of a square face, which is what I have, if you want to like learn how to add a few more angles into more of a round shape of a face, how to cut off angles in a more angular face, that kind of thing. It's up to yourself, whatever way you want to do your own face. You do as much as you want or as little as you want. But this video is going to be just focusing on the general application and techniques and products of the actual contour and highlight and why you would do so. Because what I'm going to do in my face shapes video is I'm going to incorporate my blush and bronzers and my contour and highlights in the one video. So once you've all the knowledge from those two and then we apply it to the face shapes, it makes it all a lot easier and you have all the information you need. Now I'm not going to have all the information for every single little detail. You can always leave comments down below if I missed anything. You can leave comments below if you have any extra tips, new tips and tricks, because I am only just a normal person who is a makeup artist who has been doing it since 2011, 9 years. And I feel like it's just something good to kind of discuss, and if there is new tips and tricks, new brushes, new products, whatever, mention them down below. Feel free to do so. So we're going to start with some contour, I think, and yeah, let me go into my notes as to what I have to say. Okay, so why do you contour your face? Contouring is basically when you put your foundation on, especially if you use something with a heavier coverage, you tend to lose a little bit of dimension on the face. You tend to all look the one colour, as I kind of do now. I actually look very pale on my face. This is like my natural tan right now that I have on. That I have because I was sunbathing and I actually got a bit of colour, so I'm actually more tan than I anticipated. In real life it looks fine, but on the cameras I look very washed out. So if you look at my face right now, it looks quite blank and bare, especially with the lip on. I feel like it's just meh. So basically for contouring, it's going to add shape to your face. It's going to give more dimension to your face. It's going to give you a bit more sculpture to your face and show off your gorgeous bone structure. It's also going to be a shade or two darker than your skin. Now you can go super strong. These things are just guidelines. You can be the lightest of light and use the darkest of dark on your face. But what I will say to you is, the more you go, so if you're like, say, me, and I tend to do 2 or 3 shades darker than my skin, if you went 7 or 8 shades darker than your skin, it will be more obvious and more harsh. So bear that in mind. Always bear it in mind that it will look a little bit harsher, especially in real life. Camera's different, as you can see, it looks completely different. But it is a little bit harsher when you do go for the more extreme version of whatever it is you want to do. So always bear that in mind. And also, contouring is there to correct. I don't like saying any of these things, but it is the terminology that is used in the makeup world. So so let's say, so I have a square. I'm going to use my face as an example. I have a square face. I have if I look dead straight at you, I have quite a nice strong jawbone, if I just say so myself. And I have a very straight across forehead, and it goes down, and my forehead is no wider than the corners of my jaw. Now I'll go through all this properly. And the width out here is no bigger than the width up here, and the width up here, and the width here. So I'm a square, basically. So if I was to correct my face, I would be cutting off the corners and cutting off the corners to make it more of an oval shape, because that used to be the ideal face shape. I'm always going to be doing this in this video. There is no ideal face shape. Everyone is beautiful. But yeah, so if I want to do that, I'm going to contour those areas so it kind of looks like they're going back. Contour is going to recede, so it's going to push everything back to the shadows. You're adding a shadow to everything. Your highlight is going to make it come forward, but I'll get onto that in a few minutes. But your shadows and everything. So that's why a lot of people do contouring in the cheekbone, and they do it below your cheekbone and they highlight on the cheekbone. So you do it below the cheekbone to kind of hollow it in and make it sink a little bit more, and then you highlight the top to make it stand out. You might contour the sides of your forehead to make them go back a little bit more, and then you'll highlight the center to make it stand out. You can contour the sides of your nose if you feel like your nose is a bit too wide. You can contour the sides, make it thinner, and then highlight down the center. I'm not a big fan of nose contour, to be fair, but whatever. I love a lip contour though. I always tend to contour under here, and it kind of makes the lip look like it's coming out a little bit more and it's casting a shadow, and then I highlight the top to make it emphasize that as well. You can always do the double chin if you have a double chin. I mean, I do when I look down in the camera, but it all depends on angle. See? So if you want to kind of give yourself a bit more sculpture here, you can. If you want to contour your collarbone, you can. It's all up to you, as much as you want to do. I don't do it all because I couldn't be bothered and I don't feel like I need to, so I don't. So let's get into the kinds of contour we can do. So for the types of contour that you might find, might come across, you might already have, and you might not even know about yet. So I'm going to start first with cream. So I have this guy here. This is the MAC. It's from the Charlotte Olympia collection. It's the Sepia cream color base. It's one of my favorites actually. It's my favorite cream anyway. So it's cream. It's just cream. I find they're more moisturizing. So if your skin is a bit drier, they might be better. Some of them are sheer. Some of them are more pigmented. So just be careful with them. Don't add too much of it that you then have to try and blend out all over your face. I'll go into that with application, but don't say with your stick, draw a big line. I tend to do, if I'm going to draw, I'm going to draw a little bit to there and then blend it. I can always add more, or do a couple of little dots and then blend it, and then you can always add more. But yeah, so creams are like that. They're quite easy to blend, especially if you don't set your base. So if you're using a cream or any sort of cream products that are after like your foundation and concealer, don't set it with powder. Excuse me, I'm dropping everything. Don't set it with powder because then the creams won't blend as easy. But if you don't set it with powder, it'll blend quite nicely. That's probably the one I'm going to use for the cream side, because I'm going to do cream on one side and powder on the other side. Next up then is going to be powder. A lot of mine are going to be quite light because I am fair, and this is my own personal makeup. It's not anything to do with any of the makeup that I use for my job. I do maybe use bits here and there, but all the skin stuff is all mine, so I don't need dark colors for myself. So your powder contour is going to be similar to your blush. It may not be super pigmented, it may be very pigmented, so always again be careful. I find they're very smooth to work with. They are easy enough to blend once you set your base. So with these, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to set your base with powder. If you don't use powder because it dries your skin out, I'd recommend going for the cream. If you don't use powder to set your base but you want to use a powder highlighter, just be careful with it, is all I'll say. Sometimes it can go a bit patchy because it can stick in certain areas, and because it has pigment, it'll show up, if that makes sense. So yeah, quite easy to blend. You get a smoother kind of look from it. Not more so than the cream, but I do find you get a nice kind of smooth look. If you're beginning, this is the easiest way to go because you can build it a lot easier. You can go very light with it and build it up. And then the last one that I have, it's kind of not really a contour, it's kind of a bronzer, but like kind of works as a contour, is my Laritzy Cosmetics shade stick, quick stick or whatever it's called, in the shade Aloha, and it's a stick. So that's another kind of contour you'll come across a lot, which is where you might see people drawing it all on and going from there. I know Fenty do one, but yeah, and MAC have done them before as well. This is more of a bronzer though for me. I quite like these as well. These are usually very pigmented, I find. I would say again, don't draw full stripe on. Like I would never just go whoo. I do like a little bit, and then I kind of do a little bit up there and then a little bit here. Or just go from the stick onto a brush and then use it from there and you'll get a similar effect. Okay, and then the last type I don't actually have because I find them very hard to find in any sort of place, but it's your gel. So your gels are going to be very translucent. They're translucent. They're going to be quite sheer, they're going to be quite see-through, so you're going to have to see skin underneath it. They're great for people who don't like to wear maybe foundation, who don't like to wear a lot of makeup, who just want it to look like there's a contour there but not actually see the contour there, if that makes sense. So yeah, they're hard to find. It's I'm sure MAC have probably had them. I'm sure Illamasqua. I'm pretty sure Illamasqua has one. And I'm sure Makeup Forever probably have one. But I can't think of any other brands. A lot of the makeup artisty kind of brands will probably definitely have them because it's that kind of a style product. It's definitely it's a certain type of look, so they tend to go for that. But yeah, very nice. They're gorgeous, but they're just hard to find. Okay, and then I'm going to go through a couple of little brushes that you can use or that I tend to use. Some people use different types of brushes. The types that I tend to gravitate towards depending on the products. So these are the kind of brushes I tend to go for. So I have got a Real Techniques. This is a 303 brush. It's one of those like flattened kind of dense brushes. And they're really nice because it's super, super quick. You're like, whew, whew, and done. Give it a little blend, you're done. One of my favourite ones I've been using for years, this is the contour brush from Real Techniques as well. Really nice, super fluffy, gorgeous sort of shape. Probably the one I'm going to use for my powder, I think. And then there's another Real Techniques. I do like a Real Techniques brush, as you can see. This is the setting brush. So this is like their small setting brushes for like setting just certain areas of your face. I love this for for contour and highlight as well. I've used it for that too. But particularly for contour, I find it gives like a really precise application, especially if I'm doing something stronger. I definitely want to be able to see the contour. I tend to use something like this. You can still go in and make it soft and blend and make it look super natural as well, so don't worry about that. But I do love something like this. I use it a lot for Halloween as well because I can go in and do like all my smaller little contoured areas. It's really, really nice. And then the last one is another one that I love, especially for cream, so I might use this one for the cream side. This is the Zoeva 110 Face Shape from the Rose Gold collection. So he's just super, super dense, really nice and squishy and little. My friend got me this for Christmas, and it's just a beautiful brush, really nice and dense, and it just gives you a really nice soft application that you can then blend do. So let me go through a few colours for kind of different skin tones, kind of things to bear in mind. Again, I don't have super, super dark shades because this is my own collection that I have here, but I can give you what I would go for, if that makes sense. I don't know offhand exact products, but I can give you the kinds of things to look for. So for, say, light skin, so my kind of skin, I will be a light, fair, porcelain, ivory, that kind of general group of colours. I don't fall into medium, not even with a tan. This is as dark as I am. I am probably at my darkest an NC20 from MAC. That's kind of, or an NW20 maybe, because I do go more warm. But this is me kind of at my darkest from here down, because my foundation's actually a bit too light for me. But for me, when I look for a contour, I go for that kind of tone. I go for that kind of tone. Do you see, like, they're cooler? They're still, like, this is super light, doesn't even look like contour, but it actually is, I swear. This is going to be the powder that I use. This is a cool toned brown. So you want those cooler tones. That's what gives us more of that shadow effect for our lighter skin. It makes it so that it's way more natural and it's way softer. The lighter you go, the easier it is going to be for you. The darker you go, the harder it's going to be for you to blend, especially when you're fair. Other things then, I'll just show you this because this is actually what I'm going to reference a lot in this video. This is my Tarte Park Avenue Princess Chisel palette. Just because it's got a few, whoa, where's the glare? There you go. It's got a few colours. So out of this, if for my skin, I would tend to go for the Carrot, the kind of cooler tone, and I could maybe work up to a little bit of Princess Cut. To me now, this would be a bronzer and that would be a little bit too dark. I could probably get away with it if I was desperate, but that kind of way. The other two are highlighters, which I'll go through in a while. So that's kind of what I would do with that. Now, build up again to your medium. So you're not dark, you're just a medium. So you're a little bit deeper, you're more like your NW or your NC25. Maybe put a little bit of tan on, maybe just a little bit darker than I am here. You want to go for still your cooler tone browns, but you're just going to go up to like a mid-tone brown. So again, this one would actually work quite well. The Sepia would work quite well for a medium skin. This one I quite like. Sorry, now where is he gone? This one here. So the Princess Cut I would tend to go for as a contour. I feel like this is just a little bit warm for medium skin, so I would tend to go Princess Cut. I feel like that would be quite a nice sort of tone for a medium skin. And then move up again to a medium deep. So your medium deeps I would classify as like your NC40s, your NW35s, 30s, those kinds of tones and colours. Just they're not quite dark, but they're still deeper than a medium, if that makes sense. It's definitely not on a mid-tone range, it's still on the dark side, but it's not super like ebony or anything like that. So when it gets to that, I actually try not to go too cool, especially for a contour. Yes, you have your bronzers as well, and they do tend to fall together for your medium darks and your deeps. Not so much for your deeps, but your medium darks. They will give, I find when you use a cooler toned or grey toned brown, they will give more of an ashy sort of look to the skin, and they actually muddy up a little bit. They tend to go a little bit too grey and look a bit mucky on the skin. So I actually tend to go for something more warm. Again, this is quite light. Well, it's my kind of colour. But something a little bit warmer. It's not like bronze. It just has a little bit more warmth than what I just showed you a second ago. So then in my little palette here, I'll just show you for reference compared to the others. You'd want to go for Angle. That kind of colour there. Just to give a bit of warmth. If anyone wears false tan, quite a dark false tan, that sort of tone there. I'm not saying this palette exactly, I'm just using this for reference because it's the thing that I have the most colours in. That sort of tone there would be what I would go for. And even the Crown, which is this one, is quite nice as well, especially if you're a little bit on the more kind of, I would say the more golden side of the medium deeps, then I would probably go for that one. And then the last one is our darks and our deeps and our ebonies and our super gorgeous chocolate skin. I unfortunately don't have anything to reference for this, except I know of Fenty have their kind of bronzer collection. Their darkest colours and even their darkest face powders would work as well. MAC Studio Fix powders in the likes of, say, NW50, NW58, 55, NC as well, depending on the tone of your skin. I just go in and try it and see how you get on. And also one I have found that works really well is MAC's blush, but it's not a blush, it's kind of like the way this is a blush but it's not a blush, is Swiss chocolate. And what was the other one again? Sorry, I just did a little Google there because I couldn't think of the names of the ones I was thinking of. So Swiss chocolate would be a nice kind of on the lighter side of them. Film Noir, oh, he is beautiful. He is a gorgeous, really rich chocolatey brown. And then the Sketch, which has a little bit of a plummy undertone, which you might think is a bit weird, but again, if I tend to go grey because it's cooler, for your deeper skins, going grey will make it look ashy, but going plum still has a little bit of colour in it, so that actually does work quite well. It's still a beautiful colour, looks really good on, and it works. I've used it on my gorgeous deeper skins and it definitely works. So those are the colours. So let me get into kind of where on the face you contour, but it's not going to apply for everyone. Always bear that in mind. Okay, so I haven't powdered my face at all because I know I'm going to be using creams, and I'll powder once I have that done on one side and I'll do the powder on the other side. So let's work with the cream first. I'm going to use the Sepia from MAC, this guy here, just because I haven't used it in forever and I feel like using it. I've got an itch right there. So like I said, this is not going to apply to every single person. It might apply to some people, it might apply, some parts might apply to everything, and all of this doesn't apply to me. This is just, if you're contouring, your basic blueprint of contouring, this is what you do. But again, work with your own face. I'm not telling you to do it this way. I'm just saying that these are the areas of the face where people do contour. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to take my Zoeva 110 brush, and we're going to just dab in to get the colour on. And let's start, I'm going to do it on this side. Let's start with the most popular, the one that everyone does and I do, or not everyone but most people do, and I'm going to do the cheek. So you want to feel your face, so have a little feel, get to know your bones, get to know everything, where your fingers. There's a trick to say, like, I'll put your hand here, and then your finger down is where you contour, your finger up is where you highlight, and your finger in between is where you blush. I think it's something like that. I never use that. I literally just feel the face. If I'm working on someone, obviously not with the Rona happening, but if I'm working on someone, before all this, I would have actually just gone in and like pressed and just see where the bones are, so I generally have an idea as to where their own natural bone structure is. So my bone sits here, so I'm going to contour under here. I'm going to highlight here, but I'll do that in a while. So for your contour, where your bronzer was like kind of up onto the cheek a little bit, this isn't. So I'm going to start right back here to where the top of the ear is, just there, the beginning of your ear. I'm just going to stamp it in, and I'm going to do it pretty heavy only because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Otherwise I probably wouldn't do it this heavy. Let's pick a little bit more. And kind of make it go down. You can kind of curve, if your bone, follow your bone. If your bone curves up, you can follow that. If your bone curves down, you can follow that. Just be careful, it might draw your face down, but it depends on your own face. So then what I do is the temple. Again, that's the bone. So up here is where I'm a bit hollow in the temple, and this is where the bones stick back out in the temple. So I'm going to go about there. Another thing about contour I'll say is that if you don't want to look older, don't contour, do bronzer. Because contouring emphasizes the bones of the face, it emphasizes the bone structure of the face. As you get older, you tend to lose a lot of the plumpness in the skin. Everyone does, it's the nature of collagen and elasticity in skin, and you tend to look a little bit more gaunt, which you don't want to emphasize then if you want to look a bit younger. So if you want to look younger, bronze, don't contour. So then for the forehead, somewhere along here, it's different for everyone. Again, mine is different to a lot of people's. So I just do it there for now anyway, and I'll show you in the face shapes video what I'm doing. But make sure as well that you're going all the way back into the hairline with these. This is like super obvious. That's like what I do for Halloween. Now, for the jaw, if you want your face to look longer, do under the jawline, like that. And then your jaw will look like it's coming down more. If you want your face to look shorter, as if maybe you think your face might be a little bit longer and you want to just take it down a notch, you need to do it on the actual jaw, not under, on the jaw. I like to emphasize my jawline, so I like to do a little bit under, and I bring it all the way back so it looks nice and square. So now I'm going to blend this in, and then we can do a little bit more. So I literally just go in and very lightly with the brush. You can blend it up onto the cheek a little bit just to get the line to not look as severe, but you're mostly going to blend it down. And for the temple, I try not to go too far out of where I've just applied the temple. I tend to just kind of keep it there if I can. What's great with cream as well is I like to go with my finger and just mush it into the skin so it just looks a little bit more natural. And then up here, I'm just going to take my brush and just follow the shape of my forehead and bring it around. Again, this is more than I would ever, not more than I would ever do, but more product than I would ever wear. Now, let's move on a little bit. So I'm going to do my favourite trick, which I'm hoping I won't ruin my lipstick, is under the lip. So where your lip would stick out more, mine already kind of does a little because I do have a fuller lip, but I find that I can emphasize it more, and I just take a little less than what you think you need. And that's the same for powder. I'm only going to do cream for this because it's going to look weird if I just try to divide it in half, but it just gives more of a shadow. And if you want to do that, you can't really see it. It's not super obvious because I didn't put too much product on, but it does give a bit more of a shadow. Now the nose, again, it's different for everyone. If you want to shorten your nose, you can do here to kind of take it up a little bit and like flick it up almost. If you want to thin your nose down, I actually tend to go from here, so that way it all looks like it's part of the one bone, because it is supposed to be part of the one bone. If you want to make your nose look wider, don't contour, just highlight it and highlight wide. If you want, if your nose may be a little bit crooked, so maybe you broke your nose or whatever, and it might be just a little bit off center, just contour the tiniest. So say if it's sticking out a little bit here, you're just going to do it like there. Blend it so you can't see it, but this is why I don't like nose contour, because I find it's very easy to look very obvious that you've done it because it is such a small area. So let me wipe off my brush a little bit so I don't have too much product. And we can go in and soften all this down. And when you're blending, blend it down this way. So that way you're not disrupting the middle part of the nose. Now, I can see from as far away as I am, and I'm blind, I can see that I've contoured my nose. And that's on camera, and that's with these lights. So in real life, it's actually not as harsh. The contour is very harsh on camera. So always make sure you're looking at your face when you do it. I know that sounds weird, but just make sure that your face looks okay when you're leaving. Take photos, take flash photos if you have to, just to make sure it looks okay. And make sure it doesn't flash back, make sure it's not too obvious. Yeah, but that's contouring with cream. Okay, so I have popped a little bit of powder on just this side of my face because I still want to do some cream highlight on this side. And I'm going to go in with my MAC Next to Skin blush. It does look so light. It doesn't even look like it's going to be a contour, but it is. And I use it a lot as my contour. And I'm taking my contour brush from Real Techniques. How many times can I say contour in this video? Count. So again, same technique as this. You're going to go right back to your ear and bring it forward. Do you see how it's not as harsh? Even though I'm using a good bit of product, it still doesn't look as harsh. And that's why I tend to tell people, if you're unsure about contouring, start with powder because it's just a little bit more forgiving. You can always go in then with your face powder and blend it out if you go a bit too heavy. Now it is more likely out of the two, out of like say your creams and your sticks and your powders, for powder to look mucky on the skin, depending on how you've set your makeup and depending on what kind of tone you're using of contour. So again, always keep everything in mind. Make sure what you're using really works for you. Make sure you try it, everything like that. Okay, so that is pretty much everything for contour as far as I can think. Let's move on to some highlight. So highlight is like the best friend to your contour. It's basically the opposite part of it, so it emphasizes more. They work together. One is to recede features, one is to make features stand out. So your highlight will make everything stand out. If you don't want something to stand out, do not highlight it. If you want it to stand out, highlight it. So that's the way I always work with that. If you feel like maybe your nose is a bit too out there, don't highlight your nose. Contour it instead and work with it that way. Or if you want your lips to look super, super full, yeah, do a bit of Cupid's bow action. Absolutely. If you want to emphasize your nose, you bring that nose out. You do what you want to do and put a bit of glow there. I don't mind it. Yeah, so it's kind of similar as far as products goes. So let me just show you guys. So we have got our creams. This is very much used and abused. This is my MAC Cream Colour Base in Luna, one of my all-time favourites. Probably the one I'm going to use. I think so. For my cream side, I'm probably going to use this guy. He is beautiful. Now you can, obviously for cream as well, use the likes of your concealers to highlight without actually looking shiny. But what I will always say about that is that it will look heavy because it's concealer or foundation or powder. If they have coverage in them, they will look heavier than say something like this is more so just the highlight part without the coverage. So just bear it in mind, always bear it in mind. Next up then we have got powder. So we've got pressed, which I have this guy here, the lid of it is broken and I have it sellotaped together. This is the Catrice High Glow Mineral Highlighting Powder in the shade Light Infusion. Super gorgeous, super beautiful. It kind of reminds me of MAC's Double Gleam Extra Dimension Highlighter if you have that. Same thing. He is gorgeous. He has shimmer. The first one also has shimmer, so the Luna has shimmer as well. He has shimmer. You've got another type of powder, which is your loose powder. This is the MAC Silver Dusk Iridescent powder, and it's a loose, so it's shimmery and loose. For powders as well, we have matte. Same way with creams, we've got ones with no shimmer. So back to my little palette here, these two are both matte. One has more of a yellow undertone, one has more of a beige sort of undertone to it. They're both matte. They're probably maybe a satin at most. And a lot of them are MAC do one called what's it called? Is it Bone? I think it's called Bone. Really pale or emphasize or something like that, and it'll have a tiny bit of a sheen to it, but it's not shimmery, if that makes sense. It just helps draw the light to the cheek and make it look like it's standing out more. And then I have two different types of sticks. So one is just your standard stick. It's just a really small little one. This is the what are you called? Where are you from? Nude by Nature, and it's the highlight stick in the shade 01 Champagne. He's lovely. He just gives you a nice, so you can see it better. Super nice, super metallic, really beautiful. I'll probably be able to get away with that a little bit more now that I'm a little bit more tanned. So yeah. But he's lovely. I tend to just draw him straight on and buff it in, or take my brush and buff it in, or take my finger and press it in. There's loads of ways you can apply all these. Again, I'm going to show you a couple of brushes. And then the last one fits into the stick and the gel sort of category. I do have a gel style highlighter. So this is the Catrice Dewy Wet Look Stick. It is exactly that. It's a wet look stick. Any of that kind of like balmy sort of textures that don't really have a lot of shimmer to them. I know MDM Flow do the multi-purpose balms, those kinds of ones. MAC do their clear gloss that's not lip clear gloss, it's just clear gloss for a multi-purpose. A lot of those, they'll give you that nice sheen without actually looking too shimmery and also too heavy on the skin. That just gives you that glossy wet look. So this I'll do just here so you can see. It's definitely translucent. It does have a bit of a sheen to it, but it's more of that like wet gloss sort of look. So that's your gel style. Similar again, like the contour, but just on the other end of the spectrum. Okay, so how do you pick your colour? So again, it all sits with your undertone. It depends on your undertone in your skin. Again, I am a light, fair, porcelain, ivory, that kind of thing. Even with a bit of a tan, I'm still light. So I tend to go for your kind of silvery whites, like so. This is the Diamond Bomb from Fenty. This is actually great for a lot of people's skin. Just let you know, there's no actual base colour to this. It's actually just sparkle. Now it's sparkle, don't get me wrong, it's definitely sparkly. So if you don't like a super sparkly highlighter, it may not be for you. But if you like a sparkly highlight and you want something you can just kind of throw on and give you that beautiful highlight, it's so pretty. It does make the skin look super shiny in the areas that you highlight, but it has no base colour. But I love this for my skin and I would use it on a lot of people's skin. Then you've got your pinky tones. So I have the Wet n Wild Megaglo highlighting powder in the shade Blossom Glow. This has got more of a pinky tone. Make Geek do one called Glitz. It's still super light, but it has a bit of a pink undertone to it. He's gorgeous. I love these kinds of tones on my skin. Then you go on to more golden. So for golden, I've got this Karl Lagerfeld baked highlight. I don't know what the colour is. It's just this. This is more of a super light champagne. Gold, I find on me, is hard. So this is a perfect kind of golden tone on my skin to give me that kind of highlight. I may use this as my powder highlight, I think, just so you can see what it looks like and what a golden sort of tone would look like on my skin. And then for my neutral gals that have a more paler skin as well, I've got the Bobbi Brown highlighting powder in the shade Pink Glow. So he's lovely, has a little bit of like a silvery white and also the pink undertone, so it does neutralize as well. It's lovely, it's very nice, and I think it's super cool. Another one as well, then going on to the medium tones, that's quite nice. This is the Ocean Feel highlighter in the shade Virtuous Golden Rose from Kiko. I use this in a few videos and it's very pretty. It has a bit more colour than my normal highlights that I go for, but I can still get away with it as a highlight. It's super nice for a medium kind of tone, especially that Pink Glow from Bobbi Brown is great on a medium skin. Medium can get away with it with a lot of the light colours as well. Light can't really get away with a lot of the deeper colours, but medium can get away with going a bit lighter than they may mean to. Also as well, for your highlight, same thing applies for contour. The more extreme of a difference you go from your skin, the more obvious it's going to be. So when you are, say, like your medium deeps and you want to go for like that kind of tone, it's going to look silver on the skin and it will be very obvious it's there. Whereas if you are, say, my skin and went for something like, I'll show you this, like this, it's going to look like a dirty brown stripe on my face. So I tend to err on the side of 2 shades to 3 shades lighter again. But again, you can go as light as you want. Just be careful of the tone and make sure it doesn't look too obvious unless you want it to look obvious. So for my medium deeps and my deeps, again, kind of hard because I don't have a lot on hand at the minute. So I'm going to just quickly go through some that I think are beautiful for deeper skins that I do have in my collection. They're all in palettes. So starting off with this one I have from Primark, this Primark Beauty. It's a dupe for like Anastasia, Beverly Hills. These are little palettes that I have. The only 2 I can actually use out of it is probably this and this as a blush. I could maybe get rid of them. I could get away with that if I'm if I make my face as tan as the rest of my body, because I don't put any, I try not to let my face get in the sun too much, so that's why it's always paler. But if I did my deeper foundations on my skin, I could probably get away with that one. This one I cannot get away with no matter how tan I am, because I don't go that tan. This is Firefly. It's a beautiful bronze, and he is gorgeous, especially if you've got that nice golden undertone in your skin, like you're more of an NC than an NW from MAC. Yeah, he's gorgeous for anyone that's a medium or a deep as well. Then colours, my god, colours. Oh, actually another one from MAC is Gold Deposit, gorgeous on your deep skins. And Cheeky Bronze as well, also gorgeous on deep skins, that's also from MAC. Fenty have a lot. They've got that can't think of the one, it's the really yellow gold one, it's very pretty, I can't think of the name of it. That one from Fenty, he's lovely as well. So another thing that's great on your deeper skins is coloured highlighters. So not a lot of people can get away with them. I love them, but they don't always look great, if that makes sense. So as in, I like wearing them because I like how weird they look, but not everyone wants them to look weird. But on deeper skins, they don't look weird. It's very strange. So I've got a couple here. So I've got the Moonchild Glow Kit from Anastasia. These are all the kind of duochromy ones. So you've got like a blue, a silver, a purple, a kind of silvery purple, a green and a pink. And yes, they will all work because the colour, like, there's not a lot of white in them. It's more just when they're on the skin, it glows the colour that is the undertone, the duochrome. And maybe the silvery one may not work just because it might be a bit too cool, but like, I'll show you the purple and we'll do green as well. Green is gorgeous on a deeper skin, as you can see. So there's, it mostly just shows the colour. It's really nice without actually having a lot of base pigment, so it's gorgeous on a deeper skin. And then the other one, which is even stronger than I have, is the Huda Winter Highlight Palette. This guy here. And minus the Frosted Kiss is more of a, it is a cream. Has a bit more of a pink undertone, but it's a lot more subtle, but it does have that kind of red sort of base to it. You can kind of see it there. It's the worst place to swatch. But these guys here, they're all super strong. I can wear them, but I have to also lighten them slightly. So when I put them on, I tend to put like a lighter highlight on top. You've got Northern Lights, which has like a greeny gold. You've got Winter Rose, which is a pink red, and then you've got Arctic Glow, which is a blue. Those beautiful on deeper skins, and you think I'm insane, but I'm not. They're so beautiful. But like I said, I listed some and I will list more down below. Anything I kind of mention, I'll try to list down below so you can have a look at those if they are available, and also if they work for you, try them and see how you get on. So quickly, before the application begins, let's do some brushes that I like to use. So you've got your fan brush, which I know some people don't really like. This is quite a floppy one, so it's better for a sheer application. Whereas I have this one from Real Techniques. It's a lot stiffer. There's a lot more give in this one, and this one's a lot more dense. Not dense, but stiff. He's better for a harsher application, and he is better for a softer application. But they're great just to sweep a nice little bit, like that, on the skin. Beautiful. You can do your nose if you want just like a dusting of glow all over the face, or on your collarbone. Gorgeous as well. Next then, I've got a MAC 133 brush. This is like a flat little brush. It's what I call, what's it called? What did we call it in work before? Kitten paw. It looks like a kitten paw. And he is beautiful, gorgeous. He gives a good application now of powder to the face, and yeah, really nice. And he's flat, so you can be super precise. You can use the tip of it down the nose. Gorgeous. And then the last one, which is probably the one I'm going to use just because I haven't actually used it in a while. This is the Inglot 4SS. It's like a giant big blending brush for your eyes, but it's for your face and your eyes. You can definitely just do a sweep colour across the eye. Or I like to use it for my highlight because I think it's beautiful. Now my cream, I always tend to use my finger, so I'm going to do that. But let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the cream. I'm going to go for Luna because again I haven't used that in a while, and we can apply it. I'm just taking it on my finger like this, and this is their cream side. So for your highlight, you can do top of your cheek, kind of the area where the bone sticks out of where you contoured it, basically, if that makes sense. So top of the cheek, so you can see there. I'm hoping this shows up as much as the contour does. You can do the top of like the forehead above the brow kind of area there. I'm piling this on, by the way. This is more than I would ever do. So you get that nice glow. Let's do chin, because I contoured under here. So let's do chin because this sticks out, and I also contoured under my jawline. And then on the jawline, unless you've contoured here, then don't, but on the jawline, because I want it to stand out, and I followed the shape of my jaw, so I do that nice down and then across. And that will also help this bit look more obvious as well, which I don't need to, but it does. Then I'm going to take down the center of the nose. And then last thing I'm going to do the cupid. So it's hard because I already have lip products on. I try to do this like before I do lip. So that is all the areas that I would tend to highlight, not on myself, but it's all the areas that you can highlight on your face. If it's me, I tend to just do my cheeks, down my nose, and above my lip if I feel like doing above my lip. Otherwise I don't really do anywhere else. I literally mostly do my cheeks and down my nose, and that is kind of it for my highlight. So let's go on to the other side, but before I do a shimmery highlight, I just want to show you the matte highlights and how they look. So these are the matte highlights here. These are back into my Park Avenue Princess palette, and I think I'm gonna go for Halo, which is the more beige tone, and I'm gonna take that on my 4SS, yes, from Ingla, this guy, and he is gonna go on top here. They're not as obvious. It just gives you a highlight without actually looking like you put a load of shimmer on your face. So if you don't want it to be shimmery, if you're more oily and you don't want to do down the center of your nose, but you still want to highlight, you can do something like this. If I was to kind of highlight my jaw, which I don't normally do, I would tend to use something like this rather than a shimmer, because it's a bit weird to have a bit of shimmer down here, I find. So something like this kind of a highlight is a lot nicer. Now, let's do some actual shimmery highlight on top of that. That's just to give you an idea as to what you can do with it. So I'm going to go into the Karl Lagerfeld and Model Co. Baked highlighter, just because it is that more golden sort of tone, so you can see what it looks like. And he is going to go on top of the cheeks, and he is beautiful. You can bring it right up your temple, you can bring it right out here, you can do that, but again, that's all to do with your own face shape. I'm going to do a tiny bit down the centre of my nose again. I have been loving a nose highlight, to be fair. Oh, it looks so weird. Just because it's so much, I'm not used to doing it. Do it here. We'll do some up here. My biggest tip I can give to you for doing these sorts of things is follow your bones. Your bones are going to tell you what they want you to do. So just follow them. If your bone wants to go higher, go up to the gods. If your bone just wants a small little bit, it'll want a small little bit. So just play around with it. You can see, like, it looks really nice and contoured, but it's very obviously contoured. I have a lot on right now. It's more than I ever wear. But it's just to give you an idea as to what you're going to do, the techniques, the brushes, the kinds of products you can use. And then we'll go into how to do it for your own individual face. Okay guys, so that is everything. That is our contour and highlight video. I'm hoping I didn't ramble too much. I did, but I'm hoping I didn't. I enjoy contour and highlight, but I feel like there's a lot of like, this is how you highlight and everyone needs to highlight like that, and that's not how it works. That is not how it works in the makeup world, in the industry of makeup. I'm not talking about like YouTube and stuff like that. I'm talking about in the industry where I actually work. That's not how it works. That's not how it works for anyone's face. You have to look at someone's face. I have to look at hundreds of people's faces and decide what to do on the spot. You only have to know your own face. Unless you want to be a makeup artist and you're using these to help you, good for you, and good luck. But I would say to people, look at your own face. Decide what you want to emphasize on your face, and decide as well, I know it's not a nice thing to always say, but decide if there's something that you don't want to emphasize, don't emphasize it. That's my thing. Like, I have a lot of dark circles, so I try to keep them as light as I can. I don't like to do the contour on my nose because I feel like it makes my nose look like it's stuck on my face, so I don't do it. I do a nose highlight, but I don't do any contour. I don't do my jawline because I couldn't be bothered really. I don't do a chin highlight normally, and I wouldn't do the centre of my forehead a lot normally, or the top of my forehead, unless I'm going super glow town, but I don't. But I would definitely do my cheeks, and I definitely do the highlight on my nose, and I definitely do around my lips, and I definitely do my temples and my forehead. Not all the time, but I do. So it's up to you. I'm leaving it to you now. It's all up to you. This is just to give you some guidance, but it's all on you. Have a play, pull out all your products, see what you like to do, try all these techniques, try the areas that I've done, and then be like, you know what, I don't like doing my cheeks, I'm not going to highlight my cheeks or contour my cheeks, and that's cool. Go for it. Yeah, if you don't have to contour your cheeks, well done, good for you, because I like a good contour cheek, yeah, I must say. So yeah, if you did like this video, give me a big thumbs up down below. Let me know in the comments as well if you have any tips or tricks. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below. If you have any product ideas, products, if you are of a deeper skin and want to list a lot of products, please do so, because I don't know everything. I am not of a darker skin. I work on darker skins, but I work on darker skins from a certain brand, so I don't know every other brand, if that makes sense. I don't do freelance, so I don't get in contact with a lot of brands that are where I get to work with a lot of people, if that makes sense. So if you have any products, any ideas of anything to work for, maybe skins that I couldn't show, or maybe products that I couldn't show for certain skins is what I mean, leave it down below, please. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. Also, hit subscribe to see more of these, and also see this and the bronzer and blusher video pulled together, which I will have linked down below and probably up there. Also to see those two put together and put into action, and what you would do with each different face. That's the plan. I have a lot of work to do for that video because I have to make the pictures, and yeah, I'm hoping it works out, but it should. I think it should. If I put my mind to it, it should. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys.